welcome back to Mr. Sensible. Please make yourself at home. Today we're going to look at a guy called Hitman Notoriety and his video Checkmate Science. Only it isn't really, he just thinks it is. You're in for a world of facepalm with this guy, and you are going to suffer injuries. I know I will. And you all have to thank a subscriber of mine, Osvaldo Greco. It's his fault. He pointed the video at me. I could not resist the dumb, and unfortunately you're now all going to suffer for it. So if you see him, he's the one you take it out on. He's the one you sue for medical expenses. Sorry, Osvaldo, you brought it on yourself, mate. So let's have a look. Hitman Notoriety.
Alright, I'm not sure how the audio is going to turn out on this video, but...
Oh my god, it's Gigantor's taller brother!
What I'm basically throwing out here, and others have deduced, is that rockets don't work in space.
Well, that didn't take long, did it?
And it's really clearly evident in the parabolic flight that these rockets take, the reason why they launch them down next to the oceans. Why don't they launch rockets off of mountaintops? I mean, it'd be more cost effective. I mean, point A to point B is a lot shorter distance to travel.
And here we go. They launch them next to the sea so that the earliest stages of the rockets can fall back in the sea and not fall on your dumb head. They don't build the rocket launch pads on mountains because that would be bloody awkward and bloody expensive. And even if you built on Everest, the top of Everest, that gets you 29,000 feet. And if you're launching something up to the ISS, that's got to go, 120 miles or 211 miles. So you're not really gaining much. Big fail already, Notoriety.
But when you start realizing that the atmospheric pressure has everything to do with how these rockets function and move.
What has to be taken into account with regard to the density of the air is the rocket accelerates so fast, so quickly, that it becomes dangerously fast in the dense air, so they actually have to throttle back after a short while until they reach the thinner atmosphere, and then they can put the throttle back up again.
So what I have here and what I've drawn is, and I'm showing, is right down in here. I should get a pointer. Is that you've got a rocket, and they position it right next to the highest atmospheric pressure, which is the ocean, right? So the Cape Canaveral right there, Houston right there in the Gulf, right? Always next to the body of water. Well, the reason being is because it's the highest atmospheric pressure.
Well, that would actually be the shore of the Dead Sea at 1,419 feet below sea level.
You get more bang for your buck when you're down next to the shoreline of the ocean.
I get more bang for my buck from Horny Hannah's massage parlour, 2 for 1 on Thursdays.
So what they do is they launch these rockets. Obviously they take a parabolic flight and disappear off into the distance, and you think they're out in space traveling around. First of all, they've got you believing in magic fabrics and, that the Earth's mass is depressing some kind of thing where everything falls into it like a magic fabric, right? Like a bowling ball depressing a trampoline.
Yeah, they've got me convinced it's a bowling ball on a trampoline depressing magic fabric. Well, that's one explanation of the warping of space-time by masses, but there we go.
And in all reality, everything's functioning, everything's actually moving around with voltage potentials, and the Earth is essentially a huge crystal that vibrates, generating an electric field around it. And it really is no different than a Van de Graaff generator I've mentioned in other videos, storing a field around it as it builds up that friction. So really the magnetism comes after this pressure moves around.
So let me get this straight. The Earth is a Van de Graaff generator, and the pressure moving around causes magnetism. You're making shit up, aren't you?
And you got a lot of people thinking that magnetism's, the key force, but really magnetism's kind of a subservient thing to this pressure moving around. You only have the magnetism when the pressure's moving around, but once the magnetism's presented, it confines whatever's in that kind of material flow.
Would you like dressing with your word salad?
And really, when you start looking at biological organisms like yourself and the veins and arteries and the lung network and all the tubes and shit and how everything pressure modulates into tubes within tubes, this is how plasma moves around, even in space, which is kind of wild.
What is this? Some sort of gish gallop of crap? Pressure in tubes within your body, and it's like plasma in space.
I've mentioned in some other videos too, the sidetrack note is the Voynich. They were literally seeing plasma formations that look like plants in space, once again, as viewed through a telescope 200 years earlier than we're told telescopes were invented.
Which reminds me, I must order some more oven gloves.
So, back to my point here about rockets not working in space. You've got such a huge lie, so many people participating in a theme park, once you fundamentally understand that there is a person underneath that Mickey Mouse costume. And it can be a huge organization with lemonade stands and rides and mechanics and people working on shit, but fundamentally it's an entertainment.
I'm just not going to go there. Just carry on.
Buzz Aldrin is an actor. He's an actor, not... And ironically, the word "not" is in there, nautics.
Buzz Aldrin would smack you in the mouth if he heard you saying that. You're not fit to wipe his boots.
And a lot of this stuff they do in swimming pools that are very, very large. The water's very pristine, and it gives you the illusion of them floating around out in space, when in all reality they're on Earth, swimming around in pools. So many videos out here showing the bubbles being released, but see, they want to kind of interject in that they're doing their training in the swimming pools. Well, they film everything in the swimming pools.
No, it's practicing. It's the closest they can get to simulate the environment of space. You can have 0G if you fly in a parabolic curve on the Vomit Comet, and I think that the 0G lasts for maybe about 30 seconds.
There is no delineation between training and them saying they're actually out there in space, because really they're not.
No good for detailed practicing. In the pool of water, which is very, very deep and has divers on hand for safety, it's the closest they can get to simulate 0G. But it's not 0G. And when they film it, even when they're saying, yeah, we are in a swimming pool, you can tell it's not 0G. It is nothing like the same as when you see an astronaut working on the outside of the ISS or doing some other spacewalk. Totally different.
They're just filming everything underwater. It's fucking hilarious.
Good argument. Really, they're not. They're just filming underwater. I can counter that argument. Really, they are, and they're not filming underwater. I win.
This is the Achilles heel of every single space program on this planet. It is the Achilles heel to any rocket scientist, any proclaimed fucking physicist out here that doesn't understand this. They're living in a lie. They're actually helping the theme park presentation.
Is there a physicist in the house? You're being challenged. Notoriety's going to whoop your ass, I think. Come on down. Come on down.
Any satellite out there they claim's flying around planets, moons, landing on Mars, even the Venetian atmosphere, no, because it's impossible once again.
Well, I think you might need to present a little bit of evidence before we decide to agree with you that everything is impossible. Come on, show us some evidence.
Rockets lose their ability to push. The parabolic flight actually is in a total correlation to atmospheric density. 14 pounds per square inch will start off here, right? If you're next to the ocean, we'll just say the highest atmospheric pressure to the lowest atmospheric pressure. You go from 14 pounds to less pressure. Well, the rocket's thrust, the surrounding pressure, is left out of a lot of shit. See, we walk around at the bottom of an oceanic density like little crustaceans.
Notoriety. I think you might be a little crustacean. Or at least have the intellect of a crustacean.
And you breathe in, well, literally you're not even breathing in. You just create a low pressure with your diaphragm to allow the 14 pounds to go into your body.
What? Like breathing in?
So you're allowing the pressure to push into your body, essentially, right? You're just creating a vacuum.
Well, I don't think we really need to go into biology with your lame-ass rocket theory. But as you move your diaphragm and expand your chest, you are increasing the volume of your lungs so air gets drawn in. Big deal.
This pressure, as the rocket climbs, every single meter it rises in this atmospheric density once again, loses the ability to push.
Well, I'm glad that you're recognising that there's a density gradient, but rockets don't rely on the pressure of the air to work.
Because 14 pounds isn't 14 pounds up here. It turns into this, 14, 11, right? I got it down to where it terminates.
Oh my God, we got to show this guy to Riley. This guy actually understands that pressure gradient goes down to zero, which is vacuum. No membrane. Wow. Notoriety, you've just gone up one notch.
There is no pressure, no friction, no drag.
Well, there isn't once you get into space, no. Another notch, maybe?
And it's just bar none, in your fucking face. I mean, the graph's right here, right? So, rockets don't work in space.
Well, you haven't actually shown that. You just claimed that.
And once you get out here into space, everything's charge modulating, the planet's electric field, the moon's held there statically.
Everything's held there charge modulating and the moon's held there statically. What the hell are you smoking, man?
I mean, everything is accelerated in these voltage potentials, so any little tiny speck sand grain that's got all these little tiny spires and sharp points and edges on it, like the solar panels and shit, it's gonna fry it. You can't modulate. Everything has to be, actually electricity's trying to make everything spherical.
The electricity is trying to make everything spherical. Ow! 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 Bugger. Well, that hurt. I think we're going to call it a night on this one, and I'll see if I feel well enough tomorrow to finish the rest of it in part 2. Honestly, Notoriety Hitman. I think we need a hitman for you, mate. That's such a gish gallop of assorted crap. It really is. Anyway, thanks everyone for joining me. If you haven't already, please subscribe by just hitting the little mini-me down in the corner. And as I said, Osvaldo Greco, it's your fault, mate. I look forward to seeing you again, but before I go, don't forget the Conspiratard Cheese Awards. Link will appear up here. Watch the nomination show if you haven't already, and then vote. You can vote anonymously. The polls close the last day of August. I'll put a link in the description as well. Until next time, stay sensible.
Shut up and sit down.